Hi guys, it's Kathy. I hope you're doing well. So I don't know. I don't know if we end with Cato today or not. I just don't remember. So let's just I think we might. That sucks, but I don't know. All right, there's Cato. We've had him for a while though, guys. We've had him for a while. No, no, no. Look, he's still there. We still have plenty of time. This is 2 hours long. This is 2 hours long. We still have I don't know how much time we have left in here. We've only done 18 minutes of this video, so we got an hour left. That's 5 hours, maybe. Maybe. I don't know how many hours. So this last video is 2 hours long of him. That must be, anyway, Van Adder? No, Van Adder? No. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. I don't know if he's there for the whole 2 hours or if he's just there for a tiny bit. We got him in there. But we have at least 3 hours and some. We could have 5 hours of Cato left. So we'll get through 2 hours today. I'm going to drive my daughter to work and let you guys alone and chat for a little bit. It's working out great, right? I don't know what's going on with YouTube before you ask. I don't know why your names are showing up like that. I can't fix it. You'll be fine. Let's watch OJ. Wait, why is Marsha talking? Marsha shouldn't be talking right now. It's Cochran. Did he finish with Kano? All right. I know I went to take my daughter to work. But did he finish with Cato while I was driving? How do you know it's permanent? Did they announce it, Fozzie? I saw them announce some stuff, but I didn't look at it.
How many pages is that, Mr. Shapiro?
I think the interview, the transcription is. We have additional copies here.
Oh, I'm just curious how many pages.
I think it's
Don't worry. You'll hear them better in a second. They're not near the microphone.
The transcript is 20 pages.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give Ms. Clark
Nice
the
eye
opportunity
roll.
to read through this. I think you'd probably be more comfortable if you're sitting back in the jury room so you can read or whatever. So we'll take a brief recess, probably about 10 or 15 minutes. Please remember
Thank
my
you,
admonitions
Kelly.
to you, and I'll call
Thank
you
you,
back as
thank
soon
you,
as we're
thank
ready
you,
to go.
thank you.
Mr.
I
Keelan, you can step
appreciate
down,
that.
please, and leave the courtroom. Let's have it quiet in the courtroom, please.
Quiet, there's no talking.
All right, Ms. Clark, are you prepared to proceed? Or do you need that copy to proceed?
I need that. Yesterday, when I was examining the witness, we referred to the transcript that the attorney's office.
Jude, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. And again, you'll hear them better in a second. She's not near the microphone.
His office obviously prepared, I have found several discrepancies. None of them were major enough for me to say don't use this transcript. Nevertheless, I have not been able to track all of the inconsistencies on any given particular passage. I'm going to need an opportunity to examine and compare it to my transcript because Mr. Shapiro has never shown us that copy.
All right, but you
And
had,
I've been certified, this is not.
was this a tape recorded statement?
Yes, it is.
All right, did you have the tape recording?
We also have it, so there should be no discrepancy.
But the problem is that, of course, we cannot compare a transcript we don't have to the tape itself or to the transcript that we have. Mr. Shapiro pops that out today, at the last minute while he's examining the witness, and according to the witness, even he hasn't seen it. So we don't know whether it's
Well, you'll have,
accurate, and it's not certified.
you've got a copy of it. or
Well, I will.
we'll have shortly. All right, and if there's any discrepancy, if we have the tape, then we have the ability to get actually what was said.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. All I'm alerting the court to is I will be asking for an opportunity to examine and compare mine to his when he refers to that transcript.
Sure.
Thank you. And with respect to the notes, Your Honor?
Yes, with respect to the notes, I have reviewed them and found them not to be discoverable.
On the grounds that they would not be
On the grounds that they are not impeachment, and also on the grounds that they are not covered in 1054.3. In other words, it's not a statement by a witness called by the defense.
no, but it's a statement taken from a prosecution witness who at this point is being cross-examined.
Correct, but has not been cross-examined with regards to this yet.
With regard to those specific notes.
That's
But
correct.
the subject matter certainly of the notes being.
That's correct.
And so it's the court's ruling that because the notes specifically have not been addressed on cross-examination, they're not discoverable.
Or under direct. That's correct. All right, Mr. Gala, would you give one copy to Mr. Shapiro, one copy to Ms. Clark? Or do you have your own copies?
Yes, I do.
All right, then both copies are for Mr. Darden and Ms. Clark.
People's objection and his request for notes.
Noted.
Thank you.
All right, I'll make the court's copy of these notes, court's next exhibit in order.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, counsel. All right, let's have the jurors, please.
Same as it was when I started, 10 minutes.
Okay.
Ozzy, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Discord will not let me renew my subscription. When I click the button, nothing happens. It doesn't take me to a payment method or anything. So I don't know what's going on with Discord, but it's maybe I'm already subscribed. I don't know, but if something weird happens in Discord, that's why. I can't figure it out.
Just the beginning.
Does that refresh your memory as to what we spoke about on the 14th?
Yes.
And did you have a clear impression as to what your conversations were the night before on the 13th with OJ Simpson when you and I discussed it on the 14th?
Yes.
And after
I'm sorry. You asked me two questions. First one was the Tuesday and then the Monday, correct? If you could just repeat that.
Okay.
'Cause I was looking
Right.
at-
So you're not confused. We talked on Tuesday.
Yes.
And my question to you is, when we talked on Tuesday, after reviewing a transcript of that conversation, does that refresh your memory as to what you remember taking place on Monday?
Yes.
And what do you remember taking place regarding any conversation you had with OJ Simpson on Monday between 9 and 10 o'clock?
That I said this.
Okay, and what did you say?
Read it.
If you don't remember it, you can read it.
Well, it was with the TV on, and there was a lot of people in the house, and I put an arm around him, and everybody was talking kind of to the TV, and it was kind of like everybody in shock.
Did he say he couldn't believe it?
I don't remember.
Would you refresh your memory again?
Oh,
Take your time.
And-
Take your time.
and he said he couldn't believe it,
And what did you say?
and I couldn't believe it.
And was everybody in shock at that time?
Yes, the TV was on, and a lot of people in the house.
Was everybody in shock at that time?
I don't know what you mean exactly by shock.
I'd like you to refresh your memory by what we talked about that Tuesday.
Yeah, shock is the word. So they're all. It was a very big thing. Yes.
That Tuesday was your memory of the night before that everybody at OJ's house was in shock.
Yes.
And was your memory that it was a pretty quiet time there?
Yes.
Not many words were spoken.
Right. I wasn't saying much at all.
Nor was anybody else.
Well, at the time when I was there, not many people were speaking, but I left.
So you can only tell us about when you were there.
Yes. There was some talking like to the TV set, because there was comments going on. I remember that, but
Were you alone privately with OJ when you had any conversations on that Monday night?
no, there's always people around.
What about Tuesday? Did you talk to him on Tuesday?
No,
You didn't see him at all on Tuesday, did you?
no, I did not.
And you didn't talk to him?
No.
Did you learn that on the night of the murders, you told us that OJ was tired, not looking forward to flying already. Did you also express knowledge that he had said his feet were stiff?
He might have had his feet on the table in the nook area. I could have said that.
Would it refresh your memory to look at the transcript
Yes.
on page 8, right at the middle of the page? You see where I'm referring? Let me help you out.
Next to the KK, it says OJ's mood.
Yes.
Okay. Tired, not look.
Just read it to yourself to see if that refreshes your recollection. Mr. Shapiro.
Do you recall what you told me on Tuesday about OJ's mood and whether or not he was stiff?
Yes.
What did you say?
I'd have to ask the witness not to read.
Right.
Oh, I wasn't going to. Yes, that was a reference for me to take the jacuzzi because I said, I know what it's like to be stiff. So, yes, his feet were sore
And stiff?
and stiff.
Did you have a conversation with me on that Tuesday regarding the noise you heard outside?
On the interview?
Yes.
Yes, we talked about it.
And do you recall saying that you told the detectives it's probably nothing?
That it was probably nothing, yes.
And do you recall telling me in response to a question after you heard that noise, how much time elapsed between the time that you heard the noise and you next saw OJ Simpson?
Yes.
And your answer was 3 to 5 minutes later?
Yeah. On that, can I say something?
Was that your answer, 3 to 5 minutes later?
Right.
I'm going to let him explain it. I just want to know if that was his answer first.
Okay.
Yep. Yes.
Right. And would you like to offer a further explanation?
Yes.
What is that?
On that was 3 to 5 minutes was my part of the, and the rest of that I finished up. That's when I was talking to Rachel, and that's what I thought at the time was the questioning, because on the where it says that it was me saying, so I hung up the phone with Rachel. It's on that, I don't know what page.
Would you look at page 18? It's on page 18. My question to you was, how much time elapsed between hearing the noise and seeing OJ, referring to OJ Simpson?
Right.
Do you see where that is?
Yes, I do.
And do you see what your answer is?
Yeah, it's
Does that refresh your memory as to what you told me on Tuesday?
the that's part of it.
Okay, what
No.
what did you say on Tuesday? That's my question.
That I was.
Overruled.
It says about 3 to 5 minutes,
And what else does it say?
because that's when I ran out and saw the limo, and I told her immediately that I told her I got to check this out. Check out this noise. I talked to her for maybe another minute or so, convincing myself that I was going to go out there.
Did you notice at any time that evening whether or not the Bronco had been moved?
No.
Overruled.
Now, regarding the blood that was pointed out to you by the police officers, do you know whether or not that blood was there on Saturday?
No.
At 11 o'clock, when you last saw OJ Simpson, did you see any injury to his index finger on his left hand?
No.
Did you see any bleeding on his index finger to his left hand?
No.
Did you see any bandage on his index finger to his left hand?
No.
Excuse me. Counsel wishes to.
I'm being corrected. I'm talking about the middle finger instead of the index finger.
Still no.
Okay, so for the same questions, you'd say, give the same answers for the middle finger on the left hand.
Is that yes?
Yeah. Yes.
Right. Thank you.
Have you seen any photographs of pictures depicting Mr. Simpson's left hand on that night or the next day?
Did I see?
Have you seen any photographs? Anybody
Yes.
show you any photographs? Did you see his finger in that condition at 11 o'clock on the night that he left for Chicago?
I think that question's vague because we don't know what photograph he's referring to.
May we put the photograph up on the Elmo, the People's Exhibit? Your Honor?
Mr. Caitlin, who showed you a picture of the defendant's left hand?
No one showed me. I was at an interview in your office.
And how did you happen to see a photograph of the defendant's left hand in my office?
It was on the table
On what table?
on your desk.
And how did you happen to look over on my desk and see it?
I was sitting there and waiting. We're going to talk, and it was right there.
Was I there?
Yes.
And what was were we discussing the photograph?
No.
Was I talking to someone else about the photograph?
No.
You just happened to glance at it?
Yes.
And can you describe what you were able to see?
I could just see it was a picture of a finger.
Okay, and how close were you to that photograph?
Probably what this paper is.
For the record.
Uh,
18 inches.
Okay. And how much detail were you able to see of that photograph? Can you describe it now for us?
Not much detail. I just knew it was a finger, a picture of a finger.
Okay. And so if you were to be shown several pictures of a man's finger, would you know which one it was? Could you pick it out?
Say the question again.
If you were to be shown several photographs of a man's middle finger with a cut on it, could you pick which one it was that you saw on my desk?
No.
To this day, do you have an independent recollection of exactly how that finger looked
No.
on that photograph?
No.
Mr. Shapiro? Yes.
All right. The foundation. This is leading.
Cross.
Actually, it's cross, but
Oh.
foundation.
Overruled.
May I show you two photographs, Sir Matt Buckshire? They've been marked People's Exhibit 123 and People's Exhibit 123A. Ask you to look at those photographs. On June 12th at 11 o'clock, did you see OJ's finger in that condition?
Objection, that's respect, not evidence.
Overruled.
No.
Did you observe whether or not, did you observe him as he entered the limousine?
No.
Did you observe him just prior to entering the limousine?
I saw him.
Was he sweating?
I couldn't tell.
You previously answered to that question, he was not?
Is that a question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you testified before the grand jury on page 93, line 6, 7, and 8. Recall Ms. Clark asking you a question. When you saw him later that night and he was getting into the limo, he was getting ready to go, did he seem hot or sweaty? Do you recall asking you that question?
Yes, sort of.
Let me show you that question and answer on your grand jury transcript. Does that refresh your memory
Yes.
as to what your answer was as to whether or not at the time OJ Simpson got into the limousine, was he hot or sweaty? What was your answer?
I said no.
And does that refresh your memory as to what his condition was?
Objection, I asked the witness to be permitted to complete the passage.
All right. Hold on. Finish your question and answer, Mr. Shapiro.
Does that refresh your memory as to what his condition was, whether he was hot or sweaty on that evening, getting into the limousine?
Yes.
Is there anything else on that page that would help you in that area?
Can I read it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have no objection if Ms. Clark wants him to read the whole page. Is that, if that's her desire, Your Honor?
Ms. Clark?
I just wanted to be able to read everything.
Go ahead, read the whole
Question?
page to the jury.
It's a question. When you saw him later that night and he was getting into the limo, he was getting ready to go. Did he seem sweaty or hot? Answer, no. Question, you don't recall that? Answer, I don't recall that.
Slow down.
Oh. Next question was, were you sweaty or hot at that time? Answer, no. Question, at any time that night? Answer, no.
Okay, I think that
Did-
completes the area on the examination. Thank you very much. Nothing further.
Ms. Clark?
Just go ahead and read a couple more lines there. Did I ask you then? Read along with me. Did I ask you then, did you, at the point when Mr. Simpson was getting ready to leave for the airport, did you get a close look at him in the light? Answer,
No.
no. Your answer was no. Is
No.
that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Marcia,
And then you
he
said,
needs
I
to
mean,
read
it was
his
dark
lines.
outside and the house wasn't, the lights were probably not, it wasn't lit up, the house. You recall giving that answer?
Yes,
Was that correct?
yes,
Question, and you had contact with him, would you call it brief or would you call it lengthy at that point? And your answer, it was rushed. Yeah. You recall giving that answer?
yes,
Then I asked you, did you spend a lot of time trying to observe him at that point? And your answer, no. You recall that being your answer?
yes,
And is that correct?
yes,
And did you make any effort to observe the defendant's hands as he was getting ready to leave for the airport in the limousine?
no.
How much time did you spend with the defendant from the moment you saw him by the limousine until he left for the airport?
Brief. From the time that he, say the question again?
3
From the
minutes.
time you saw him standing near the limousine till the time he left for the airport, how much time elapsed between those 2 points?
Total about 5 minutes.
And during that 5 minutes, what was on your mind, foremost on your mind?
The noise that I had heard.
Were you making any effort to carefully observe the defendant's hands?
No,
Or his face?
no,
Or his body?
no,
Were you looking and watching him?
no.
Do you remember seeing the Bronco at any time on June the 12th?
No.
Was that something that you would have made any effort to observe?
No.
Was the Bronco pretty much a fixture at the Rockingham location?
Yes,
Something you saw every day?
yes,
If it had been parked, I think you indicated earlier that it was normally parked on Ashford.
yes.
And how do you know that?
Because I wouldn't always park my car in Ashford, and I always park it by the Bronco. So normally my car would be on Ashford by the Bronco.
And did you going to your car, was that a daily occurrence for you when you lived on Rockingham?
Yes,
So it would be a daily occurrence that you could observe the Bronco parked on Ashford as well.
if it was there, yes.
And so is it your testimony, sir, that you normally observe the Bronco parked on Ashford?
Yes.
Can you tell us when you saw it parked somewhere else and where?
It could be in the driveway. And
When would it be in the driveway?
I don't know. But finish your answer.
Gigi sometimes, if she went to the market, it would be in the driveway. She'd be ready to take it. So it was in the driveway once, and I had to help her move it because she couldn't do it. But
So you
most
remember,
of the time, it would be on Ashford.
okay. So you remember once it was in the driveway when Gigi had taken it to the store?
Yeah, I mean, it was more than once in the driveway, a few times, but the percentage-wise, mostly on Ashford.
And what percentage is that?
85 to 90% usually in Ashford.
Okay. Do you have any specific recollection of when you ever saw it parked on Rockingham? Other than June the 13th?
I mean, I don't remember it now. It could have been, but I don't remember on Rockingham.
Now, you spent about a week, I think it was your testimony, you indicated you spent a week with Nicole in Aspen.
Yes,
And then was it the following month that you met her at the party at her house on Gretna Green?
yes,
I think you indicated to Mr. Shapiro on cross-examination that the defendant was never upset about Nicole dating other men. Do you recall saying that?
yes.
Is that what you believe? Is that the truth, Mr. Kalin?
He never let on that he was upset about her dating.
October 25th, 1993. You recall coming home to the Gretna Green location and seeing the defendant outside the house.
Yes,
And did you see his car parked out front?
yes.
Which car was that?
The Bronco,
The white Bronco?
the white Bronco.
And where was it parked?
It was in front of the Gretna Green driveway and the flashers were on.
Was it parked in the street,
It was in the street.
blocking the driveway?
Yes, part of the driveway. Yes.
Was it out in the street as opposed to being next to the curb?
Yes.
So the Bronco was parked out in the street, blocking the driveway with the flashers going when you got there. Is that right?
Yes.
And when you got to the house, what could you hear?
There was yelling.
Who was yelling?
OJ.
Yelling loud?
Yes.
And who was he yelling at?
Nicole.
And where was he?
Well, there was some movement, but it was at usually the back of the French doors. I don't know if you have a picture, but it's the guest house at Gretna Green was behind, and 15 feet would be the French doors to the den area,
Mm-hmm.
and he was yelling from there.
So he was yelling behind the house, behind the French doors?
Well, the doors are open, so yeah, it was. Yeah, step in and then out.
Those doors were not just open, were they, Mr. Kalen? They were broken open, weren't they?
Yes.
The lock was broken, wasn't it?
Yes.
And what was the defendant yelling about?
There was an argument about pictures that was up in Nicole's house.
Picture of a former, someone she used to date, isn't it?
Someone she dated.
And the defendant was very upset about seeing that picture in her photo book, wasn't he?
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
Was the defendant angry and upset about seeing the photograph of someone she had been dating in that book?
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
What was the defendant upset about with regard to that photograph, Mr. Kalen?
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
Didn't the witnesses testify?
How about we start from the basic, what he was upset about?
You indicated, sir, that there was an argument about pictures, didn't you?
Yes.
All right. And that was a picture of who?
I don't know who the picture was, which person it was exactly.
In general, who was it? What was it?
A guy.
Overruled.
What kind of guy?
Overruled.
What kind of guy can you?
What did the defendant tell you?
Oh, it was a boyfriend, former boyfriend.
Of Nicole's.
Yes.
And why was he upset? Why did he tell you he was upset about seeing that photograph in her book?
Because I thought at that time they had a semi-commitment where his pictures were down of girls, that her pictures should be down.
Is that what he told you?
That's what the argument was.
And how angry was he that day, Mr. Kalen?
Angry. He was yelling. The police came.
Mm-hmm. Would you say he was very angry?
Angry enough for the police to come. Yes. Came.
Certainly.
And then in Christmas of 1993, you recall that there was an argument that night also.
Yes.
And I believe you testified on cross-examination that you went to the Jenner's house for that party with the defendant and Nicole and their children. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then you testified shortly after arriving there, Nicole said it's time to go.
Yes.
Before she said that, sir, did you see a gentleman by the name of Joseph Perulli enter the house?
I think he was already in the house.
Yes, before you left.
Oh, yes, before he left.
And was it shortly after he entered the house that Nicole said it's time to go?
Yes.
And who is Joseph Perulli?
An ex-boyfriend
Of Nicole's.
of Nicole's.
And after she said, come on, let's go, did you all go back in the car?
Yes.
And once you were all in the car, did the defendant say something to Nicole?
There was something going on. Yes, there was an argument. And it was, I guess, about him being there.
About Joseph Paroli being
Joseph. I don't know his last name, but that might have been it. I didn't know his last name.
there? The defendant, was he angry with Nicole?
Yes.
Was he angry about Joseph Paroli being there?
Yes.
And what did he say to her?
I don't know the dialogue, but it was that he was at the party and he shouldn't have been.
Did Nicole invite him to the party?
I don't know who invited him.
Who gave that party?
The Jenners.
And you indicated that they were also talking about some flowers that had been delivered for the defendant.
Yeah, I don't know the exact story in the flowers, but the next girlfriend I thought delivered flowers to OJ.
Those flowers from Paula.
I think so.
So was the defendant yelling at Nicole on the way home from the party?
Sustained. First question.
How was the defendant behaving with Nicole on the way home from the party?
Well, there was yelling, and it was off because there were children back, and we were back, and we're saying it's Christmas Eve, so it kind of refrained from the yelling in the car.
So they tried to keep it down in the car?
Yeah, it subsided.
And then they went, when they got home, they had dinner?
We all had dinner.
And how was Mr. Simpson and Nicole behaving during that dinner?
Well, the fighting wasn't going on. It was quiet. It was Christmas Eve, very quiet.
Do you recall making a statement to the effect that there was no talking to those two during that dinner?
There was no talking, right?
And-
It started out that way, and I think at the very end it got better. Of the Christmas Eve with the present opening.
For the children?
Yeah, we're shooting a video, and
Was the defendant speaking to Nicole during the dinner?
no,
Was Nicole speaking to the defendant during the dinner?
no, I don't believe so.
Now, during the grand jury testimony that you gave in this case, counsel page 52. Do you recall my asking you whether or not you had ever observed the defendant and Nicole have a fight or an argument?
Yes,
And do you recall what your answer was to that question?
can you show me?
First, I want to ask you.
I
you
think we
recall?
talked about what we just talked about. There was a 911 call.
Did you tell me at that time that there was a 911 call?
I believe so.
I'm going to show you the page, Mr. Kalin. He asked you to point out to me where you said there was a 911 call.
Sustained. Want to rephrase your question?
Do you recall my asking you before the grand jury whether you ever saw the defendant and Nicole argue or fight?
Oh,
I'm
ask
sorry.
the question.
Did I see them fight?
No, I'm asking you, do you recall being asked the question that's shown in that
Yes,
transcript?
yes.
And do you see your answer in that transcript?
Yet I saw that there was one.
That there was one. And where in that transcript do you see that you told me that there was a 911 call as a result of that argument or fight?
Sustained. No,
Your Honor.
no, that's a speaking objection, Mr. Shapiro. Please refrain from that. Curious to disregard that comment. Ms. Clark.
Mr. Kalin, did you not just tell me that you recall testifying to the fact that there was a 911 call before the grand jury?
Overruled.
Do you recall testifying to that just now, sir?
There's a 911 call? Okay.
It actually was, I believe, so.
No, he said multiple times the police were called. That means there was a 911 call.
Do you recall, now, did you tell me in response to the question I posed to you before the grand jury as to whether or not you'd ever seen defendant and Nicole argue or fight?
Yes.
Do you recall did you tell me that there was a 911 call as a result of that fight?
It doesn't say it on there.
Did you tell me, and did I ask you also before the grand jury, do you recall the nature of the argument or just that it was one? Do you
I
recall what
think
your answer was?
Leonardo is next.
That there was an argument.
Refresh your recollection of this answer on line 19.
She's not trying to. He's not answering the question correctly. He said that there was the police were called, so she's trying to get him to say that again because to rebut what Cochran had him say when he was on the stand.
That I said that it was one.
That it was one.
Right. That, am I? Just so I know, that's the one I was talking about was the 911, I believe.
Mhm. But you didn't say that there.
No.
And when I asked you, do you recall the nature of the argument or just that it was one? You did not tell me that you came home to find the defendant screaming behind the house and that the police were called, did you?
Sustained.
Did you give me any of the information about the police being called when I asked you about the nature of that argument?
Overruled. You can answer the question.
Please ask it again.
Did you tell the grand jury, when I asked you the question about the nature of the argument, sir, did you tell the grand jury that you had heard the defendant screaming behind the house and that the police were called? He was asked.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember saying that?
No, because I would have said
And
that.
did you see that in the transcript here,
Yes.
where you said that the police were called?
No, it doesn't say that in there.
And when I asked you about the nature of that argument, did you respond to that question before the grand jury that OJ called Nicole a bitch?
That I said that?
Right. Did
No.
you ever say that?
No.
Did you respond to the question concerning the nature?
Wait. Let me see counsel at the sidebar with the reporter, please. Madam Court Reporter, do you need to change paper?
During the Christmas of '93 argument, do you recall discussing that matter with Mr. Shapiro?
I probably did.
Your audio is fine. Relax.
Now, when Mr. Shapiro on June 14th interviewed you, do you recall him asking you the following question? During the time that you were living at the residence with Nicole and OJ, did you ever see them get into any type of fight? You recall that
Yes.
question? And then you asked, when I was living on Gretna Green, do you recall that?
Yes.
And that was a question you were asking him.
Okay.
You remember that?
Yes.
And then he answered yes.
Yes.
And then you went into, you immediately responded. Tell me if you recall responding as follows. I never saw them fighting. The only one occasion was when I drove in. I didn't see the fight, but there was an argument going on. And I got there and said, you guys don't be fighting and shouting like that. And I brought OJ to my guest house and back. And when he was in the guest house and back, before I knew, there was police there. So obviously someone had made a call. Do you recall telling him all that?
Yes.
And when I asked you before the grand jury, did you ever observe them to argue or fight? Your answer was, I saw them close and I saw maybe an argument.
Mhm.
And I asked him, where was that? You said on Gretna Green. And when I asked you,
No way. No way. Someone giving you a meal every day for a year would stay for that. I don't have to think about cooking. I don't have to cook. I don't have to buy the ingredients. I don't have to clean the mess. One whole year or however long this was.
do you recall the nature of the argument or just that it was one? You recall giving the response that it was one. And then I asked, was that the only time you ever saw an argument between them? And you answered yes. You recall that?
Yes.
So you didn't tell me about a fight on Christmas Eve, did you?
No, I'll tell you what.
Sustain phrase question.
Did you tell me about a fight on Christmas Eve when I asked you about the argument, whether you observed them to argue or fight?
Ms.
In-
Clark,
in the-
I'm sorry, hold on, Mr. Kelly. I think I need to ask you to be a little more precise in the language because we're differentiating here between arguments and physical confrontations, aren't we?
I was asking the question in generic, it's probably, I think Mr. Shapiro was as well. See what?
Well, I mean, then it's a vague question because there are verbal fights and there are physical fights.
But the point is the difference in the response.
Well,
It's a
all right.
vague question.
I'm just asking you to be a little more precise.
Okay. I'm just quoting my own question. You weren't there to rule on it. Before the grand jury. I wish you had been.
By the way, what was the date of the grand jury proceeding?
Thank you, Your Honor.
So the jury can know what came first.
I'll make sure. Where are we at?
All right, Ms. Clark, do you have much more?
Yes, Your Honor.
What's your time estimate at this point?
Oh.
What's your time estimate at this point?
About half an hour.
All right, let's finish. Madam Reporter, are you okay?
When I asked you before the grand jury in June of 1994, that'd be June 20th of 1994, after your June 14th interview with Mr. Shapiro, when I asked you, did you ever observe them to argue or fight? Did you tell me about the Christmas Eve argument?
No, I did not. Can I say something?
You can?
When this was going on with the grand jury and everything was happening, there'd be nothing I'd hide from you. My mind was with everything that if I remember something, I would have told you about a 911 call and all that sort of thing. But it wasn't something I wasn't trying to not tell you, because I know if it's a 911 call, that it'd be a report. So there's nothing I tried to hide from you about any of the fights. There was so much I had so much time. I was in front of all these people. So then I remember more, and that's when we had this meeting. I would tell you stuff that I remember something else.
So are you telling us now that you felt intimidated by the grand jury, Mr. Kalin?
Overruled. You can answer the question.
I don't know if intimidated is the word, but I try to remember everything that I could.
Do you remember telling me, Mr. Kalin, that you had thought being in front of the grand jury would be intimidating, but it turned out to be just a bunch of old guys in fishing caps?
Yes. But yes.
Not real intimidating.
No, I was looking at you. I was just in a room that I've never been in court.
Okay. But when Mr. Shapiro asked you the question, as to whether you saw Nicole and OJ, did you ever see them get into any type of fight? You told him about the incident on Gretna Green where the 911 call was placed,
Yes.
didn't you? You told him about the police arriving, didn't you?
Yes.
You told him about the fight on Christmas Eve, didn't you?
Yes.
Well,
Argument.
I think
Argument. I'm
Argument. Jury knows the distinction between the two. Yes.
Now, do you also recall discussing with Mr. Shapiro during that June 14th interview how Nicole felt about you moving out to live at Rockingham instead of staying with her on Bundy?
Upset with me.
Do you recall telling him about that?
Yes. That
Go ahead.
OJ was manipulating me.
June 20th was the testimony before the grand jury.
All right.
And do you recall that there was an agreement at one point that Michelle was to leave the house whenever Nicole was around?
Yes.
Do you recall that there was an argument that after that slap that you referred to, Michelle made a derogatory remark about the children, Justin and Sydney?
Yes.
And Michelle did not leave the residence that day, did she?
No.
Let him freak out. Let him freak
You
out.
also recall that Michelle was the one who opened the door to let the defendant into the room to beat Nicole in 1989?
Yes. Last question answered to Mr. Kalin regarding his knowledge as to events in 1989. If you recollect, Mr. Kalin has testified, and it appears to be undisputed in the record, that Mr. Kalin was not acquainted with anybody in this case until January of 1992. I've sustained the objection to the case. You are to completely disregard the implication suggested by that question. There are some other matters I need to take up. I don't know if the bailiffs had told you, but we are going to be dark as far as this case is concerned tomorrow. I have 2 other cases that I have on my calendar that I anticipate are going to take the full day for me to handle, plus some other matters on this case, so we will not be in session tomorrow. We will stand in recess now as far as the jury is concerned until 9 a.m. Monday morning. Please remember all of my admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Don't form any opinions about the case. Do not conduct any deliberations till the matter has been submitted to you. Do not allow anybody to communicate with you with regards to the case. Mr. Kalin, you may step down. You are ordered to return Monday morning, 8:45. All right? Thank you, sir. Also, do not discuss your testimony with anybody except for the attorneys in the case and your own counsel.
Thank you.
All right. All right, we'll stand in recess for 15 minutes, and then I'll see counsel on the discovery matters. The jurors rejoin us. Mr. Shapiro.
Yes, sir. Your Honor, I'd like permission to address the court regarding appropriate sanctions for conduct that took place last Thursday. May I do that? Your Honor, we suggest stringent sanctions be imposed for the unprofessional conduct that arose at the end of our session on Thursday. The reason that we think the sanction should be severe is this is not an isolated incident, but it is becoming a continued course of conduct. And it seems to have.
Your Honor, I also would like sanctions because the muscles in my eyeballs are permanently damaged now because every time this man speaks, my eyes cannot help rolling to the back of my head.
Happen at about the same time and with the same frequency at the end of the court week. The court, I'm sure, will recall last week we ended with testimony about a plastic bag in the back of the Bronco. And the jury was left with the impression over the weekend that there was something sinister to having this. They then started the session on Monday by pointing out themselves that this was standard equipment that was used only for the spare tire on the truck. The conduct was wanton and willful, in my opinion, on Thursday when a bad faith question was proposed. First, by way of history, the court twice that day had to admonish counsel for conduct that was in violation of the court's regulations the prior week. And then there was a sidebar where there was a specific admonition by the court not to bring up a certain incident regarding Michelle Obduron and the fact that Nicole Simpson slapped her. Then finally, a question was asked about a 1989 incident. I have reviewed extensively all the materials regarding Mr. Kalin, and not once in any questions that have been brought up by counsel for either side or any investigator were any questions asked regarding his knowledge of a 1989 incident or anything that was alluded to by counsel by way of redirect examination. Giving the jury the impression that Mr. Kalin was aware of an incident in 1989 is bad enough, but actually saying that he knew of this incident when counsel well knew that there was no relationship between Mr. Kalin, Nicole Brown Simpson, and Mr. OJ Simpson until 1992. And then highlighting in a loud tone of voice what was presumed to be a fact, that Michelle opened the door to allow a beating in 1989 is a serious transgression. We believe the jury should be made aware of the seriousness of this transgression, and we would suggest a sanction that would allow the jury to consider why the prosecutor in this case would act in such an unprofessional manner and what motivation they would have to bring forth to the attention of the jury for the weekend a fact that they know could not and should not have been brought to their attention. We believe there is ample evidence within the record of past conduct as well as a continued course of conduct on Thursday to warrant these sanctions. And we would urge the court to direct the jury's attention to this.
Do you have any proposed language for an instruction?
Your Honor, I will write some out, but I would say that suggest to the jury the following, that at the end of the session on Thursday, counsel for the prosecution engaged in misconduct before this court. The court has sanctioned the prosecutor for that misconduct, and the jury is not only to disregard any suggestions made by the prosecutor in asking the question, but may also consider the motivation for the prosecutor in deliberately engaging in unprofessional conduct.
All right, thank you, counsel. People wish to be heard.
Yes, Your Honor, briefly. First of all, Your Honor, I'm here before the court this morning to admit my culpability in all of this. It was I who handed Ms. Clark a question on a piece of paper, asking her to ask Mr. Kalin if he had knowledge of the fact that Michelle Abduran, the maid back in 1989, had opened the door to her quarters, allowing the defendant access to the room and allowing him access to Nicole on January 1, 1989. We have evidence and information from a witness that we have interviewed, that I've interviewed personally, who claims that Michelle Abduran told her that this is what occurred. Mr. Shapiro, I asked Mr. Kalin
Hearsay, much.
on numerous occasions questions regarding the defendant's relationship with Nicole Brown. He asked him many questions, which we consider to be questions going to Mr. Simpson's character.
How hard would that be, guys? Oh my God, that would be really, really, really hard for me. This is an elite lawyer. He knows his job. He does really, really well. This is an elite lawyer. He knows his job. He does really, really, really well. This man is right now saying things that they both disagree with legally. Only he is allowed to reply. He keeps telling him to be quiet. He just puts his hand up. I got this. I got this. I got this. But this guy has to sit there in the biggest case of his whole entire career at this part and just be quiet. How hard would that be? That would be insanely hard for me.
And we brought that issue up before the court. And my view at the time, the defendants.
It's like I went to a restaurant. I'm sorry, I can't help it. I went to a restaurant the other night, and this server that was serving me was just so pissed off. I don't know about what. I don't care about what. She was just, her attitude and everything. She came over with a frown, and she spoke so, what can I get you? And it was just, when she made eye contact, it was like anger. I don't think it was at me. It wasn't directed at me or my daughter. That was just her general. She was just angry and mad. And I sat there and I watched her go to all the other tables. And I was like, no, don't do that. Smile, do something. But I sat there and I ate, and I did not go serve the other tables. That's how it is. I'm equating my serving abilities with this lawyer and this lawyer's abilities. Yeah.
His character was fair game, and I handed the question to Ms. Clark. Usually when I hand Ms. Clark a question, it's a good
Absolutely,
question.
yes.
And I don't think she should be held accountable for having asked the question in light of the fact that I handed it to her, in light of the fact that I asked her to ask the question of the witness, and also because I am the person who is responsible for knowing everything there is to know about domestic violence and the defendant's relationship with the victim, Nicole Brown. I reviewed the transcript over the weekend. I noted the question that Mr. Shapiro asked Mr. Kalin. I noted our objection. I had forgotten the other day about the court's ruling that it was irrelevant when I handed her the question. Also, by the way, I just thought it was fair character evidence, or a fair issue of character evidence at the time when I asked the question. I don't think any prejudice has accrued to the defendant. The jury has heard a lot about their past relationship, their past violent relationship, that he called her names, that he used profanities, that he said he might be pathologically jealous. The jury has heard the 1993 tape. I think the jury has a fair some indication as to the true nature of their relationship. I can't see how he might be prejudiced. I expect that at some point during this trial that the jury is going to hear from Michelle Abduram, and I expect that she is going to testify to having opened that door and to the defendant having dragged the witness out of the room.
Well, Mr. Dart, let me ask you this though: what basis do we have, or did we have, to ask the question regarding Michelle Abduram with Mr. Kalin, given the fact that Mr. Kalin was not acquainted with any of the parties here until late 1992?
Character evidence, Your Honor. Is he aware? Does he know? He has testified to the defendant's good character. Character was an issue now. We felt that we had the right to ask him if he knew of things relating to his bad character.
But the question was couched in this manner.
Sorry, Your Honor.
Question was couched in this manner. Was Mr. Kalin aware did he recall that Michelle was the one who opened the door to let the defendant into the room to beat Nicole in 1989? That hardly is couched as a reputation question.
Well, that was my view. It was my view that it was character evidence, a character evidence related question. Ms. Clark phrased it in the manner that she did. Obviously, she took the piece of paper from me and asked the question a moment later, relying on my implied representation that the question was appropriate.
Mhm.
What else can I say?
Was there any indication that Mr. Kalin was going to answer this question in the affirmative? That he was aware of this incident?
I know that Mr. Kalin had a very, very close relationship with Nicole Brown. This information is commonly known to people who knew her and who knew of the 1989 incident. Questions were asked about their relationship or about his knowledge of their relationship over our objection on many occasions. So whether he was aware of that, I don't know. I don't know. But the jury will hear this evidence unless the court precludes it. I mean, it's going to come out.
As to the 89 incident.
As to the 89 incident.
All right, do you have any comment as to Mr. Shapiro's request that I admonish the jury that question, that there was no good faith basis for that question to be asked, and that it was not appropriate for you to ask that question, or for Ms. Clark to ask that question?
Well, I think that many questions have been proffered by the defense to witnesses in bad faith. Throughout this trial, witnesses have testified to incidents where they were not present. They have testified on issues where they had neither the knowledge or the training, or otherwise I felt incompetent to testify on those issues. The court has on many occasions since Mr. Shapiro began his cross-examination of Detective Van Adder, advised the jury to disregard the implications of certain questions. Okay. And I think as well that, that the defense has a history,
As I did with this last question. and
as you
answer.
did with this last question just the other day. You know, all of us, I think sometimes we, you know, we're in the attack mode and we attack. This is a trial. There was nothing malicious behind our asking of the question. I assume that when Mr. Shapiro asked the many questions that he asked the witnesses, in which the court had to admonish the jury to disregard the answer or the implication of the question, I assume that he didn't act maliciously either. I don't think sanctions are appropriate at this point. The court admonished the jury, and I think the admonition was fairly strong. I think we should just proceed on with the trial. Hopefully it won't happen again.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Dart. Mr. Shapiro, any response?
If I can just add one other thing. I would just like to point out to the court and for the record as well that on many occasions the defense proffered questions to witnesses on issues or matters that they know that only the defendant can testify to. Okay. And we've objected and the court has admonished the jury and the court has sustained some of those objections. But as the court may recall, there were instances where there were a series of questions, 4 to 5 at a time, where the court found the questions inappropriate.
Right.
So,
But this was rather a broad I mean, this is just this question though was out of the blue.
well, it's my question. So when you say it's out of the blue, you know, perhaps it was out of the blue. I mean, I'm here to do more than just die on my sword for Ms. Clark and for the prosecution. I mean,
Expression.
I asked the question,
Fall on my
Judge.
sword.
Pardon?
Fall on my sword.
Oh, well, I want to fall and die on it and go somewhere else. But you know, it's my fault. I thought it was an appropriate character evidence question. They continue to ask these questions of these witnesses that go to character, and I can assure the court that I have evidence of bad character, and now I have more, and we're going to be approaching the court asking permission to present a few days of bad character evidence. In this
Thank you,
case.
counsel. Any brief response, Mr. Shapiro?
Your Honor, I don't think the issue is who's at fault. I think the issue is the damage that was done and the lack of professionalism in presenting it. Further, I think the court can easily find the pattern of conduct over the last 3 weeks at the end of Friday's sessions. One session we ended with questions regarding whether or not Mr. Simpson suffered a cut on his knuckle. The people are well aware that evidence will be presented to show that that cut took place in Chicago and that the investigators were aware of it and that there was evidence of that by Mr. Simpson getting a Band-Aid from the clerk when he checked out, by having a broken glass in the bathroom and having blood on a towel and on a sheet in the room in which he was staying. I had already pointed out the problem with the Bronco, which any minor investigation, any simple question would point out this is standard equipment and wasn't as the people had wanted the jury to find, something that was premeditated to go and have a bag to bury a body, which was the spin for the weekend that was put out. And then we have this conduct that comes again right at the end of the court session. That is something that has never been brought out. This is a witness who has probably been interviewed by the prosecution as much or more than any other witness in the case. This is somebody they view as an essential witness. This is somebody that they voiced displeasure with in their questions and tried to impeach based on credibility. And this was a question that was asked in a malicious way.
Well, Mr. Shapiro, let me ask you this. Assuming that I'm willing to tell the jury that the question was not appropriate, is that really what you want me to do? Because if you recollect from the transcript of our proceedings Thursday afternoon, I told them that the question was not appropriate. I, in fact, told them that the record, which at this point is undisputed, was that Mr. Kalin did not have any personal knowledge of any of these individuals until late 1992, and that it was impossible for him to have an answer to that question. And I told the jury that the question was inappropriate. Now, if I am to admonish them again,
I gotta go, guys. It's time. It's time to get my daughter to work. So I'm gonna put a banner on and I'm gonna leave this going. If you want to help, you know the drill. Every couple minutes, like 5 minutes, just throw a comment here so this thing moves. If it moves just a little bit, YouTube will think that I'm manipulating the video, and not just replaying the original, and it will help. I can't do it while I'm driving because I'm a very good driver. Of course, it doesn't say that. It says that. I'll be back in a few minutes, guys. Behave, okay?
as per your request, it's to highlight the question and answer again. Is that what you want me to do?
That is not our purpose nor the intention that we are seeking.
No, I mean, but that's going to be the effect that I'm.
Not necessarily. What we're concerned with is our team has been sanctioned twice for conduct that did not take place in front of the jury. And the jury has been told that we were sanctioned. And those sanctions were very stern and very onerous.
No. Jury has not been told about this.
My recollection is the jury was told that the conduct of counsel was wrong.
That's with regards to the opening statement issue.
Yes. And
The Rosa Lopez matters are if and when Rosa Lopez is brought to testify.
And if that happens, then they will also be made aware and our client will suffer as a result. We believe this jury should know that sanctions have been imposed on the prosecution, that this was not like any other question that was asked, that this was in fact a bad faith question, and that the jury should consider the motivation of the person asking such a question. Yes, we want that done.
All right. Thank you, counsel. All right, let's have the jurors, please. Let the record reflect we have now been rejoined by all the members of our jury panel. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. When we were in session last Thursday, a question was posed to Mr. Kalin at the end of our session regarding an incident in 1989. That incident you have heard some testimony about already. And as I indicated to you, the question and answer to Mr. Kalin that closed the session was with regards to Mr. Kalin's knowledge regarding that 1989 incident. And as we know, Mr. Kalin had no contact with any of these people prior to late 1992, and thus had no way of knowing anything personally about those incidents. In propounding questions to witnesses, counsel must have a good faith belief that that witness has competent evidence to offer with regards to that subject matter. And as I indicated to you, I sustained the objection to that question to Mr. Kalin because I felt there was a lack of a good faith belief that Mr. Kalin would have good information, competent information with regard to that issue, and I found the question to be inappropriate. Oftentimes you will note that I sustain objections to questions, and I occasionally instruct you that you should only consider the question for the meaning that it gives to the answer. And you should not assume to be true any implication that is suggested by the question. And that applies to this particular question and answer as well. All right, Ms. Clark, you may resume. Excuse me, I'm sorry, Mr. Kalin, good morning. You're reminded you're still under oath. Ms. Clark, you may resume with your direct examination. Excuse me, redirect.
Thank you. Good morning. Now, Mr. Kalin, you lived in the Rockingham location from January of 1994 until June of 1994. Is that correct?
Yes.
And who was living in the house at that time when you were living there?
On Rockingham, OJ and Arnell myself and Gigi off and on.
And when Gigi was not there, who else was there?
Who would visit?
No, who was the maid?
Before that was Michelle.
Okay, and were you living there when she was living there?
Yes.
Did you interact with her on a daily basis?
If I would see her, yeah, pretty much. She'd be there every day and I'd see her.
And did you discuss with her her relationship with Nicole?
Sustained.
Did you see Nicole when she would come to visit Rockingham?
Sometimes, yes.
Did you speak to Michelle?
Yes.
And did you speak to Nicole?
Yes.
And I believe you earlier testified that you were aware that there was a situation where Nicole and Michelle would not be at Rockingham at the same time.
Yes.
And were you aware of the reason for that?
They didn't like each other.
And did you ever see them at Rockingham together at the same time?
In the house at the same time, but not in the same area.
Okay. And how did you become aware of the fact that they did not like each other?
Sustained.
Did you speak to Michelle about it?
She would bring things up.
About Nicole?
Yes.
Did Nicole bring up things about Michelle?
Sustained.
All right. You indicated that you thought Nicole and OJ got along well when you were discussing this matter with Mr. Shapiro on examination. Is that right?
Off and on, yes.
You didn't. But you also testified that you did not know what OJ did from day to day. Is that right?
Yes.
You also testified that you didn't know where the defendant went and what he did on a day-to-day basis. Is that right?
Yes.
Yet you testified to the nature of the relationship of the defendant and Nicole.
Sustained.
On what do you base your opinion of the relationship of the defendant and Nicole if you did not see him or her on a daily basis?
Oh, well. You understand the question, sir?
No.
Rephrase the question.
Say it again.
You stated an opinion that the defendant and Nicole had a good relationship for the time that you knew them. Do you recall that?
Yes.
You also testified that you did not see the defendant on a daily basis. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
You also testified you did not see Nicole from January to June on a daily basis. Is that correct?
Correct.
On what do you base your opinion of their relationship if you saw neither one of them on a daily basis?
Well, on a daily basis, I would not see them. I'm going on when I did see, at times when I did see it.
From
It was-
January to June of 1994, how many times did you see them together?
January to June. Six or seven.
6 or 7 times in 6 months.
Yes.
And on that, you base your opinion of their relationship.
Sustained.
Is that what you base your opinion of their relationship on?
Yes.
And what was those 6 to 7 occasions? Where did they occur?
At both places, both residences.
At Bundy?
Bundy, mostly at Rockingham.
How many times at Bundy?
Twice.
And what were you doing at Bundy at that time?
I was doing something for the kids. I don't remember what. Watching a movie or something like that.
Did the defendant bring you with him to Bundy to watch the children?
No.
Then how did you get to Bundy?
I drove.
You drove over there?
Yes.
Was that at Nicole's request?
No, I don't think it was her request. I just showed up,
You invited yourself?
I guess.
And when did that occur?
Like probably 4 months before.
Like in
So-
February of 94?
Yeah.
Didn't you earlier testify, sir, that you and Nicole, your relationship went through a major change after you moved into Rockingham
Yes.
and that you were no longer friendly? You remember testifying to that?
I was friendly.
But she was not.
Oh, well.
Probably not as friendly as before. Yes.
Yes, don't you recall testifying that she told you she felt you'd been manipulated by the defendant?
Yes.
And so the last time you visited her house was February?
I think so.
Did she ask you not to come by anymore?
I don't remember her saying that.
But you didn't.
I didn't go by, no.
And after that time, did you call her ever?
Yeah, a few times.
When?
The date I don't know, but after February.
When
Probably
was-
in March.
Did you ever call her again after March?
There was some event that was held at the house for the Sunshine School. And I think she called me and then she came over, and I don't know what the date was, but it was after March where I was putting up the chairs or something for the event.
And that related to the event, did it not?
Yes.
So you were no longer calling each other as friends after when? After what point?
Sustained.
At some point, did you stop calling each other on a friendly basis?
Yes.
And when was that?
I'd say beginning of March.
Did Nicole tell you that she had felt betrayed by you for moving in with OJ?
No, it was she said I was manipulated.
Were you working between January and June of 1994?
Yes.
As what?
Putting extras in films and getting a few parts in films.
And didn't the defendant help you to get parts in films on a few occasions?
Sustained.
I'd like to approach.
Goes to the nature of the relationship between the defendant and this witness.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'll overrule myself. Briefly.
Not this. Not this.
Briefly.
Didn't the defendant help you to get acting roles between January and June of 1994?
I never got an acting role through OJ.
Didn't the defendant call to give you a role in Frogman
No,
or bit parts on some of the shows he was working on?
never.
Never?
Never.
After June of 1994, do you recall him calling to get you parts on any television shows or movies?
No, the only thing that happened was on a Kushner Lock, there's an audition. I didn't get the role, but I already had an audition set up. He made a call, but I didn't get the role or anything like that.
And when did he make that call for you?
I think it might have been May.
May of 1994?
It was
Is that
called
yes?
Outpost. Kushner Lock was the company. I don't know the dates, but I think they would know.
You know how to spell that?
KUSHNER/LOCKE
You mean hyphen, L-O-C-K-E.
hyphen.
And that was for what kind of part?
An acting role. I don't know if it was the lead or not.
In what?
A film,
A feature film
a feature film.
called?
Outpost.
And that's the only time you're aware of that he made an effort to get you a part?
Yes.
Now, was it Nicole that was home every day and took care of the children when you were staying with her on Gretna Green?
Yes.
And during the time that you were staying with her on Gretna Green, were you aware of any problem with the defendant not showing up to see the children when he was supposed to?
Sustained. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I need to take an unscheduled recess at this time. Please remember my admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Form any opinions about the case. Don't allow anybody to communicate with you. And do not conduct any deliberations till the matter has been submitted to you. I anticipate we'll be in recess for about 30 minutes. All right, Mr. Kalin, you can step down, and please don't leave the courtroom, sir. All right, we'll be in recess 30 minutes. All right, good morning again, sir. You're reminded you're under oath.
Yes.
Ms. Clark, ask your questions, please.
Thank you. Mr. Kalin, you lived on Gretna Green from, did you indicate January of 1993 until December of 1993?
January 93 till about January 94. Kind of the end of late December, January. The move was right about then.
And part of your response, and part of what you did there to defray the cost of rent was to take care of the children. You previously testified to that.
Yes.
And so were you aware of when the children were supposed to be picked up or visited by the defendant?
I wasn't always aware of the timeframes. Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Did it happen that you were advised that the defendant was supposed to come and pick up the children for visitation and failed to show up?
Once, I know. I don't know how many times, but I know at least once.
At least once when he failed to appear to pick up the children when he should have?
For a weekend. That's, I don't know the other times.
Are you aware of occasions when he was supposed to come by to visit with the children during the week and failed to show up?
Maybe once on that too. I didn't know like the schedule of when in town and out of town. But if Nicole had said something to me, that's when I'd be aware. So she might have said it once or twice to me. Because they had activities all the time of karate, and they always were doing something active. And I didn't know the pickup schedule. If she asked me to pick him up somewhere, I'd go. So I don't know if it was because if OJ was supposed to pick up or me, but I was there.
So there were occasions when she would tell you to go and pick up the children, and you didn't know if it was originally supposed to be OJ to do it or not.
Yeah, or for me just to do it.
But on at least two occasions you know of, he was supposed to be the one to have them, once for a weekend and once during the week, and he didn't show up.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you know of any occasions when he was supposed to come and take them to dinner during the week and failed to show up?
I don't know. I mean, it could have happened, but I don't know if it was like she had plans or something. I don't remember that.
Do you recall Nicole complaining to you that he failed to pick up the children when he was supposed to?
Once, yes.
And when was that?
During my stay on Gretna Green.
Do you recall when during your stay on Gretna Green?
The exact month, no. It could have been about 6 months into staying there. Like on June.
You only recall her talking about that once?
Right now, yes, I can't.
Only once?
I mean, I didn't know the schedule. I really didn't.
No, I'm talking
No.
about how many times she talked to you and complained to you about the fact that he failed to pick up the children when he was supposed to.
Yeah, I wasn't aware if she'd say something about the pickup schedule and all that. She could bring it up like if OJ was supposed to pick him up at school or not. I don't know if it was a complete stay over the night during the week, if he had time during the week. So it could have been, oh, he didn't pick him up at school today or for a dinner, but it wasn't. And if it wasn't that way, then I would have gone and picked them up. But it wasn't.
So do you recall her telling you on more than one occasion that he was supposed to pick them up and failed to do so?
Once, like I said, once to twice, but I don't know the exact date. I didn't know exactly what was going on with, if she would have said something like, oh, OJ didn't pick him up, can you get him? So I'd be aware of that. But I didn't know the reasoning behind it. So, okay, I'll get him.
I'm not asking you the reasoning behind.
Okay,
I'm asking
sorry.
you on how many occasions she told you
At
that he
least
was
twice.
supposed to,
At
I'm
least twice.
at least twice. And was one of those during the weekend, a weekend pickup?
Yes.
Do you recall her complaining to you that he dropped them off sooner than he was supposed to, and she had to change plans as a result?
Yes.
And on how many occasions did he do that?
I remember that once.
And was that early on the weekend?
Yes.
So he brought them back on the weekend before he was supposed to.
Yes.
And was that a day early?
It could have been.
So he brought them back on Saturday instead of Sunday.
It could have been, yes.
And so she had to rearrange her schedule to be home for the children.
Yes.
And on another occasion, you recall that she told you that he failed to pick up the children. He missed one of his weekends.
I don't remember exactly, but I think that happened.
And another occasion, do you remember she told you that he was supposed to come by to take them to dinner or to take them to an activity and failed to do so?
Like I said, once, yes.
And only once.
I mean, once I can definitely remember.
But it could have been more than that.
It could have been.
And you recall her talking about the fact that he failed to show up when he was supposed to on more than one occasion?
Yes.
How many occasions?
At least twice.
Do you recall in May of 1994, approximately, that Justin had a communion that the defendant failed to show up for?
I don't. I know there was some event. I don't know if it was a communion or not. There's some event, and I don't know everything behind that, of what was going on.
But you know he didn't show up.
I think so. I don't know if it was a communion, but I think there was an event in May
For one of the children,
for one of the children.
and he didn't go.
I believe so.
Did you go to this event yourself?
Me?
You.
No, I didn't go.
How do you know about this event?
I just know there was an event in May happening. I don't know if it was a communion.
And how did you learn about that?
I just kind of remember. I thought it was maybe a graduation at the Sunshine School. I was thinking it was that, not a communion.
And how did you learn about it?
My memory?
I mean, who told you?
Oh. I think it was. I don't know. I thought it was maybe Cora, a friend.
Cora Fishman?
I think so, but I'm not positive. She told me about this event that he missed.
That's all at this time, but I have the page sites and volume site for the court concerning counsel's questioning into this area.
All right, Mr. Shapiro, any questions for Mr. Kalin on this issue?
Are you concerned, Your Honor, with the last areas in 1994, or only the earlier areas in 1993?
Well, I'm concerned with the entire time frame. We're talking about Gretna Green.
Well, 1994 is not Gretna Green.
I understand that,
Uh,
which is why I said the entire time frame.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Kalin, you're aware the type of work that Mr. Simpson did during the periods of time that you were both living at Gretna Green and at Rockingham, were you not?
Yes.
And you're aware that he had speaking engagements
Yes.
and many times before very large audiences,
Yes.
sometimes 5,000 people.
My speaking engagement, I don't know how many people, but
And you're also aware that he makes his money as an actor and doing commercials,
yes.
and that there would be times when he would be called unexpectedly to either redo some acting or to take place in an acting job or a commercial.
Yes.
Oh. But why don't we ask the pertinent question?
I'm doing this as background, Your Honor.
All right.
In June of 1993, do you have any personal knowledge that OJ Simpson did not appear to pick up his children as scheduled?
Can you,
Do you have any do you know yourself, without anybody telling you, do you have personal knowledge that he was scheduled to pick up his children and he did not in June of 1993?
without anybody telling me?
Without anybody telling you?
No, I don't have any knowledge of that.
Do you have any personal knowledge on the one day during the week you were talking about that OJ Simpson was supposed to pick up his children and didn't? Do you have any personal knowledge of that?
No.
These are things that were told to you by Nicole.
Yes.
Your Honor, we would say that would be hearsay and would not be admissible on those grounds alone, so I don't see any need to go further.
Let me ask two other questions. Mr. Kalin, with regards to these two incidents that it's your belief that the defendant failed to pick up his children, were you aware of any of the surrounding circumstances or any explanation as to why Mr. Simpson didn't pick up the kids?
Well, I knew from Nicole. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
She would tell me, she would say, OJ was supposed to have the kids, or that OJ, it was from Nicole that I didn't know his schedule, but she would tell me. She would say, oh, he was supposed to take them to dinner, like that, or this was the weekend.
All right.
And those incidents, but
Did
it
you
never
ever-
was.
Did
sorry.
you ever learn of any explanation as to what detained or why Mr. Simpson did not fulfill those obligations?
I didn't. Although I believe one of them was from acting.
Any other comment from either counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Clark?
Yes. Are you aware whether one of those occasions was because he had a golf game with his golfing buddies?
I'm not aware of that, but it could have been said by Nicole. I think she had mentioned that something. I think it might have been golf.
And Your Honor, I'd like to be heard outside the presence of this witness concerning the relevance and the nature of this testimony. I'd like to cite the court to the specific areas. Because
No,
think
I understand the areas. The issue is the competency of the witness and 352 issues.
I'd like to address this outside the witness presence.
All right, at the sidebar.
Should I go?
Ms. Clark, you may continue.
When you were living on Gretna Green with Nicole and her children, the defendant was not living there, is that correct?
That is correct.
And you saw him interact with the children on the occasions when you saw him at Gretna Green?
Yes.
On how many occasions when you were living with her on Gretna Green did you see the defendant play with the children?
Overruled.
At the actual Gretna Green, about 6 or 7 times.
And that was in the course of a year?
In the house.
And that was in the course of
Oh,
a year?
yes, it is.
And where else did you see him with the children, along with the children?
Well, if he was, I wouldn't be around if he had the children. So I wouldn't know.
So the only times you saw him with the children was when he came to visit them at Gretna Green, is that correct?
Yes.
Overruled.
Yes.
And where were you when he visited with the children on Gretna Green, physically?
Hanging out in the house or in the guest house.
In the guest house. And where would he be with the children on those occasions?
In the house.
So how many occasions did it occur, on how many times did it occur that he came to visit the children, he was in the house with them, and you were back in the guest house?
Can you say the question again, please?
You said you saw him at Gretna Green over the course of a year 6 or 7 times, is that correct?
Yes.
Of those 6 or 7 times, how many of them involved the defendant being in the house, the main house with the children, while you were back in the guest house?
Overruled.
All of them.
All of them. So for what period of time did you actually observe the defendant with the children? An hour, 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
Overruled.
An hour.
Would you observe him with the children for an hour on each of those 6 or 7 occasions?
No.
How long did you observe the defendant? What's the longest? Strike that. Was an hour the longest time you ever observed the defendant in the company of the children?
You mean like a straight hour?
Yes.
Sitting? Yes.
On other occasions, would you observe the defendant with the children for maybe 5 minutes?
Yes.
How many of those 6 or 7 occasions did you actually observe the defendant interact with the children for an hour?
Probably twice.
Over the course of the year you spent at Gretna Green, then, you observed the defendant on 2 occasions with the children for 1 hour. Is that correct?
Yes.
And on the other 4 or 5 occasions, you observed the defendant with the children for what, 5, 10 minutes?
Overruled.
It'd be off and on for about 15 to 20, kind of in the, I could see through my place into the house. But I mean, I could see, I wasn't interacting, so I don't know if I'm just answering your question.
What I mean is you observed the defendant in the presence of the children and how he interacted with them for an unbroken period of time.
About 10 to 15 minutes.
So on 4 to 5 occasions, you observed the defendant with the children at Gretna Green for 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, about. Yes.
And on 2 occasions, 1 or 2 occasions, you observed him with the children for an hour.
Yes.
So you observed the defendant over a period of a year, spending time with his children for 3 to 4 hours
Yes.
total.
My observation.
Yes.
Yes.
And on that, you base your opinion that the defendant was a loving father.
That's not what I base it on. No.
That's what you observed him for a period of 3 to 4 hours over the course of 1 year. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
That's the personal knowledge that you have of the defendant's relationship with his children. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so when you offered your opinion to this jury of the nature of his relationship with his children, that was the extent of your personal knowledge on which you base that opinion. Is that correct?
Yes.
When you went to live at Rockingham, you were no longer living with the children. Is that correct?
Correct.
And on occasion, the children would come to visit at Rockingham?
Yes.
And when they did, would you take care of them often?
Not often. If they were there, I'd hang out with them. Yes.
And on how many occasions when you were at Rockingham for that 6-month period did you see the children in the company of the defendant?
4 or 5 times.
And for how long a period of time on each of those occasions did you see them in the company of the defendant?
Of those 4 or 5 times in the company of, will he be with them? You want minutes, you mean?
Yes.
Well, about 15 minutes when I was there.
Okay. 15 minutes on each of those 4 or 5 occasions while you stayed at Rockingham, during which you saw the defendant with his children.
Right, if I didn't go off somewhere. But yes.
So all told, you saw the defendant with his children for over a 6-month period, for the period of 1 hour with his children.
No, it's more.
4 to 5 occasions, 15 minutes each.
Oh, I'm thinking, but I mentioned we went to like an event together, and that was, everybody, they were together but spread out. So, but that was like an event that lasted like 4 hours.
Right.
So that's why I don't understand. Because
I'm asking you for the times when you saw the defendant playing and interacting with his children.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
You got that? the event that you're talking about that they all went to for a period of 4 hours, the defendant was off doing things and meeting people, wasn't he?
Yes.
And the children, you were watching them for
He needs a break, Marsha. You broke him. He's broken mentally. He needs to get himself together again.
him, weren't you?
Yes.
All right, then that would not be an occasion when the defendant's interacting with his children, wouldn't you say?
Well, yes. And then interacting, then going off and doing things. So, yes.
It was brief, sporadic moments he'd be with the children, and then he'd go off and do what he had to do.
Yes.
And you were watching them for him, weren't
Yes.
you? So over a 6-month period, would you say that it would be fair to estimate that you actually saw the defendant interacting with his children for a sum total of an hour and a half?
Yes.
So you saw the defendant interacting with his children over the period of a year for 2 to 3 hours in 1993. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you saw the defendant interacting with his children over the period of 6 months on Rockingham for a sum total of an hour and a half. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that is the personal knowledge on which you base your opinion of his nature of his relationship with his children. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, you testified earlier that the defendant didn't like the idea of you living on Bundy with Nicole Brown. Is that right?
Sustained or first question.
Well, when Nicole decided to move to Bundy, didn't she ask you to move into the extra bedroom downstairs?
On Monday, yes.
And the agreement, was that going to be the same as before, $500 a month for the rent?
Yes.
And that would have been for a bedroom and a bathroom. Is that right?
Yes.
Did that location have a swimming pool?
No.
Now, what did the defendant have to say about you going over to live with her at Bundy?
Sustained. Sustained.
Was asked and answered on cross is not an objection.
No, we've been over this. He indicated he didn't feel comfortable with them
It's
being on the same roof.
foundational to another area.
All right, well, let's leap to the other area then.
The defendant was the defendant was concerned with the way it would appear if you were living on Bundy with Nicole. Isn't that right?
Yes.
He was concerned with how it would look for another man to be living with his wife, with his ex-wife. Is that right?
Is this foundational for something in addition to this?
Yes.
All right. Overruled at this point.
Yes.
So his concern was primarily for his image. Isn't that right?
Sustained.
Do you know?
Sustained.
All right. When you appeared
That's a damn good
at the Gretna
question.
Green location on October 25th,
Ask and answer, though.
1993,
You know how many times we've asked that same question?
saw the defendant's Bronco out front with the flashers on, parked in the middle of the street. You went to the back of the area. You saw him yelling. How loud was that?
Oh,
Loud.
Were you able to hear him yelling from the street? From the street?
Not when I was coming up. No, I heard it right when I got to the back area.
Okay. Were you afraid?
Was I afraid for?
Were you afraid?
Yes.
Did you hear what Nicole was saying on the telephone?
No.
Did Nicole tell you that she was afraid of the defendant?
sustained.
While you're living on Gretna Green, strike that. Cato the Akita, Nicole's dog.
No, we're not getting back into the dog again, Marsha. You can't make me. You can't make me. I'm just cheating. I'm just cheating, guys. We're gonna see how long we get him tomorrow. That was Cochran, right? Yeah. So it looks like somewhere right around here, Cochran comes back up. So we might have an hour left of Cato, but we might not. Nope, I'm wrong. Because he's here. We're here. He's here. So we have at least 3 more hours, I think. Maybe 2. We have 1 definite hour and some of this. And I'm not going to click to see. I'll wait till we get to that video. Thank you so much for keeping my ship floating while I drove my daughter to work. She's doing great. She loves it. So she used to work at IT help desk with me when I worked at the university. So she knows how to, answer phones and create tickets for people. So it's the same thing. It's a roofing company. People call and they set an appointment for a roofer. She just answers the phone and creates the ticket. But she's nervous because she has to start applying for permits for the roof. So if someone calls and they schedule an appointment before they get the most calls when it rains because then people notice their roof is leaking. But before they can do any work on the house, they have to get a permit. So that's her job. So yeah, she's doing great. She's fine. It'll be nice when she starts bringing a paycheck in, though. I'm not lying. I'm not lying. I'm just, yep. I won't be the 2 incomes in the house anymore. There'll be real 2 income house. All right. Thank you so much for coming out. I am revamping OJ. So if you notice different thumbs and different titles and different descriptions, just roll with it. It's the same stream. All right. I'm just revamping it so it does better. Thanks for coming out, guys. I'll see you again real soon. Bye.